Village of Fox Crossing meetings are presented to inform Village of Fox Crossing residents and interested parties about village government. Additional information, meeting agendas, and minutes are available on the village website, www.foxcrossingwi.gov. Fox Crossing residents can express their opinions about village issues by contacting the village president or village trustees. Contact information is on the website. All public portions of the meetings are recorded in entirety and are not edited.
Okay, we'll call the Village of Fox Crossing Board of Trustees meeting to order. It is Monday, August 24, 2026 at 6 p.m. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we'll go through, we'll take roll, and then I want to make some special comments about the tornado and the after effects and where we are somewhat. Not the same thing that Village Manager Sturgill will have to report on, but just some preliminary things. So if you take roll, please.
Trustee Van Dyke.
Here.
Trustee Kepi.
Here.
Trustee Raditz.
Here.
Trustee McQuillan.
Here.
Trustee Swartz.
Here.
Trustee Hansen.
Here.
President Youngquist.
Here. And I'm going to mostly read this. First of all,
Excuse
Yes.
me. Pardon me.
is it all fixed?
I'll get it fixed.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, I appreciate the efforts of all employees who have made an extra effort during and following the tornado that struck Fox Crossing on July 27, 2026. I also appreciate the cooperation and support from the surrounding communities, especially the cleanup assistance that we received from the village of Greenville and the cities of Green Bay and Fond du Lac, as well as the firefighting equipment from several communities. Our residents suffered significant property damage in several areas on both our east and west sides of Little Lake Butamore. Immediately surrounding communities also suffered property damage. The cities of Appleton, Menasha, Neenah, as well as the town of Neenah, all were included in that. We extend our sincere sympathy to our neighbors. Amazingly, with all the damage, there was no loss of life, and that to me is just amazing. Among the most significant financial losses for our village, just in case there's anybody that, in the last month hasn't seen some of the basic news, was the loss of Fire Station 41 and our community center on Valley Road. Now, at the risk of failing to mention anyone by name, I'm going to highlight several employees whose performance was outstanding. This information was provided by Village Manager Jeff Sturgill, and I say that because a few of the adjectives are his adjectives, but I got sick of changing them because they were far more descriptive than anything I could come up with, so I changed some, but then eventually I backed off. So, first of all, Police Chief Tim Callan, Fire Chief Todd Sweeney. Both of these chiefs have played a huge role coordinating in the EOC, the Emergency Operating Center, and keeping their departments on track. Assistant Fire Chief Sean Bordeaux did an excellent job leading the primary and secondary checks of households that occurred immediately following the storm. Police Captain Corey Haig helped scheduling officers and working as a liaison between the officers, Chief Callen, and the EOC. Phil Ollinger did a fantastic job establishing the grid system and providing GIS support for the police and fire crews that began the primary and secondary checks. Phil also worked with members of the EOC to produce valuable maps used by public protection and elected officials. Brian Bauert. Brian took charge, first clearing streets, making them passable, and then beginning the long-term effort of removing debris, both construction and vegetative. Brian also coordinated the efforts of all contractors and municipal crews. Amanda Geiser aided tremendously in posting important information to the village website and Facebook pages. She also did an amazing job dealing with the devastation of Palisades Park and the community center, as well as working with the street department to make Whitman Park a staging area. Amanda also coordinated the removal of equipment from the community center and began rescheduling all the programming and renters that were scheduled for the impacted facilities. Finally, she had to look forward to the fall-winter season and begin placing all the dislocated programming for the next several months. Fire Lieutenant Ryan Braun stepped up, especially the first weekend, way back on August 1 and 2, Saturday, Sunday, and aided the joint garbage and removal effort to help remove household garbage from the impacted areas. Chantel Jenke, immediately after realizing Fire Station 41 and the community center collapsed, Chantel was on the phone with the Wisconsin Election Commission to determine how to move forward with changing polling locations. Transferring to the Pentecostal of the Fox Cities was a huge effort, accomplished very promptly. Roy Van Harpen. Roy was monumental in leading the water crews in first stabilizing the east side water system, but then slowly bringing the system back online to the entire area. While the effort was a team effort with a tremendous amount of work from the utility crews, but Roy led the way. Jeremy Cyril conducted an amazing job assembling all the finance data and FEMA information and submitting the claims to the county and FEMA. This was an absolutely huge job that Jeremy had to conduct in a limited amount of time. Joe Hakes. Joe did a great job working with Mark Schmidt and Roy Van Harpen to get the water utility up and running and keeping the water system going as well. One of Joe's biggest efforts was continuing to keep day-to-day operations going while others were focusing on emergency situations. Luke Fishneck and Dave Edelman. Both individuals surveyed the entire damaged area of the east side and conducted damage assessments. This took a great deal of time, and they spoke with numerous property owners regarding their damaged structures. Tim Plagans and T.J. Schmidt aided the utility crews in bringing the utility system back online by providing IT support. Des Rich answered numerous phone calls regarding debris collection and pickups. Des also did a great job posting information for residents on Facebook and sending out text messages and emails. The contacts, finance ladies, and Tina Bradle in utilities managed well by answering the phones and providing the limited information that they had in order to answer questions from the residents. So, as I said in the beginning, at the risk of leaving anybody out, I'm sure I might have left somebody out, but I left one very important person out intentionally. I said that this information was provided by Village Manager Jeff Sturgill. And at this time, I want to recognize Jeff Sturgill for his outstanding leadership through this entire crisis. Jeff's background as an officer in the United States Air Force and more than 20 years serving as a municipal leader enabled him the ability to take charge immediately of the situation. Jeff performed an absolutely outstanding job, took a couple of his adjectives, I'm sorry. Absolutely outstanding, amazing job. Please join me in recognizing all those in the room that I mentioned earlier. Recognize yourself, but let's recognize Jeff also. The board loves you if the people don't. Okay, the village has been through a lot. Now, amazingly, about a week ago now, no, not quite, sometime midweek last week, I had the honor of accompanying a couple of our chiefs as well as our accreditation manager, Lieutenant Braun, and our village manager went down to Chicago and picked up an item there, which I'll ask Chief Sweeney to join me. And probably, I don't know, do you want Brian and Sean and the whole group?
They can stand right up. No, you guys.
They're in the room. So this is an award that was presented by the Commission on Fire Accreditation International. All I want to say, you're going to say something, correct?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. So I just want to say that it was a great experience to go down there, and they actually asked everybody at the table questions, so it was stressful beyond belief. Asked my name, I think. Yeah, it was very difficult. But they asked questions, and those meaningful questions were actually answered very well by the two chiefs, by our accreditation manager, and by our village manager. I answered something really basic like my name, and said I was glad to be there, which I was. And this is the award that we were presented.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you'll display it prominently.
Yep, we'll put her up at the fire station.
Okay.
Place of the other one.
And congratulations to the whole team, and congratulations to the village for achieving this. I don't know what you're all say, but this is the sixth accreditation that we've received, which is as many as anybody. I don't know who else has 6, but great job, Chief.
Thank you. Thanks.
And Chief.
So like Village President Youngquist mentioned, you remember back in the spring, about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, we started working on our 4 documents, our strategic plan that you all approved in the spring, our standard of cover, our community risk assessment, and our fire service self-assessment manual. Those 4 documents we've been working on for the last couple of years now. These two and our accreditation team, as well as others on our department. So Thursday was, you remember in May, the week of May 25th, the accreditation site team came for the week and visited. They look at our department, do all their thing for the week, 4 of those members, and then they recommend accreditation or no accreditation. When they recommend it, this culminates that, and you go in front of the commission. The commission gets a report from that team, and then the commission drills down on that report and fires some questions at you. So that's what this was last Thursday. Out of that commission hearing and that site visit, we had 20 recommendations to work on over the next 5 years, along with the strategic plan goals that you all approved and said that there's no limit on money for me. But those 20 recommendations by the site team, 5 of those were completed before we went to the commission hearings last Thursday, and another 3+ are in the process of completed. So we're well on our way to getting all 20 of them completed. The norm is about 15 to 25, 30, so we're right in there with what the recommendations usually are. I think we had 19 the last 5-year cycle. And I just want to say it's a team effort. I don't do this alone, and we don't do this alone. We had an accreditation team that worked really hard on this over a lot of months. There's a lot of writing, a lot of second-guessing each other's writing and verifying things and stuff like that and getting ready for them. A lot of dialogue back and forth with the site visit team. And then I do want to acknowledge Jake Fouts as our site team leader that came with the 4. He met some of you when he was here. 2 days after the tornado, he called me and was right open with us and the accreditation team. They were willing to move us to the spring commission hearings if we weren't able to come this time because they knew what we had going. So that was really cool of them to do. We ended up deciding, I got with these guys, and we decided just to do it now because otherwise it's sitting on our plate in the spring and you're kind of looking forward to it. So thanks, I appreciate it, but we'll hang this in our lobby in place of the last one, and we'll keep moving. Thanks.
Did you have something, Barb?
I just wondered if you could pass it around, or is it too heavy?
It's not heavy. It's,
Heavy, it's my brother. Thank
Actually,
you.
if I could make just a quick comment on this. I got to say, this was the first time I actually attended, even though I've been here for several of these accreditations. The one 5 years ago, the last cycle, it was a virtual because we were in the middle of COVID. So I showed up here in the assembly room with Chief Harbison, and everything was up on the screen, and we just did it. But previously, it wasn't in a location that was easy to attend. They were in, was in Dallas, several years ago, 15 years ago, I think it was in Atlanta. So it just wasn't cost-effective for me to attend. But to actually go and see this, it was interesting. I mean, I'd say Village President Youngquist, you probably learned some stuff too. Just how serious this is taken by fire departments around the country. It really is, I mean, some of these departments had loads of officers. I mean, there was from South Carolina, they had to let a contingent of about 10 firefighters behind them. I mean, there was another one with a contingent of about 8, and they all sat there with their binders and ready to sit in strict, ready to answer questions. It was quite the formal affair. So I just want to say that I was very appreciative of being invited to attend. I learned a lot. It was very interesting to see the other departments being peppered with questions. I would say we actually got off pretty light compared to what I saw. I mean, I don't know what you guys think, but the other departments were getting a lot more. There were some of those commissioners were drilling down pretty far. They weren't taking the first answer, I guess. But ours went kind of smooth, I would say. That's just my take. So, but anyway, just a little bit of color or a little bit of reflection on that it was very interesting. And I appreciate the opportunity to attend with you guys. I learned a lot, so thanks.
there was not a lot of humor down there.
No,
There was,
there wasn't.
the panel asking the questions, I didn't know those guys smiled till after the thing was over, and there was a couple of them saying, "Hey, way to go, congratulations." And, I mean, they were like human. And during the questioning, I mean, they were like rigid as can be. They were just.
It was serious.
you know, Chief Sweeney, would you like to answer that now? So,
Yeah.
So, okay, congratulations again. Okay, now we have some minutes and some correspondence to receive into record.
Make a motion to approve the following correspondence in the record: the August 11, 2026 partisan primary election results, the Plan Commission meeting minutes from July 15th, and the Park Commission meeting minutes from July 22nd, 2026, as submitted.
Second.
Any questions or comments on any of them? If not, those wanting to accept them signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Carries. There's no public comments, am I correct? Okay. Then we'll go into new business. First thing we have is a certified survey map on Welcome Road.
Make a motion to approve the certified survey map for 803 and 825 Welcome Road as submitted.
Second.
Okay, George, would you like to comment on that?
Yeah, a couple of comments. This certified survey map is required because the owner desires to sell Lot 1. You have a package, you have a memo in your information. There are two lots. Lot 2 has a home on it. Lot 1 has been used for storage and for other purposes. It's currently has a restriction it's classified as an outlot with unbuildable. The reason for that is it doesn't have public access to water or sewer or a road. It does have an easement, a private easement connecting to it. The Planning Commission and staff reviewed this. One of the concerns that has been addressed is there's a dedication of a public easement to extend water and sewer to Lot 1, allowing it to be future buildable. So with that in mind, and it's a 30-foot public utility easement and access, with that, it does meet the requirements. Not an ideal situation, but it is a lot that meets all the requirements. You have a condition as noted in the memo that typical requirements, but the cost to extend water and sewer to Lot 1 will be borne by the property owner.
Okay, thank
I
you,
have
George.
a question.
Sure.
Since it's only a 30-foot easement, 30 feet wide,
Yes.
how is the fire department going to get in there?
Well, the pavement or the access will be 30 feet, so that's usually acceptable for getting into property.
Okay.
The right-of-way can be as small as 55 feet, but that's not the pavement. So this will have to be paved and meet all the requirements to gain access. There currently is a driveway that feeds to this property, but that'll be the requirement of this development as well.
Other 30-foot areas too,
Are there?
in other areas of the village, yep.
Okay. So then are we going to be plowing that road?
No, it's private.
Okay,
Welcome Road has been private. It's always been maintained by the property owners.
okay.
Any other questions?
No, thanks, chief.
Okay, those in favor of approving this CSM signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries.
Mr. Chair, I should add that I do have a copy of the easement that will be part of this CSM. It just hasn't been executed yet. So I have that. It's signed, but not completed yet for recording.
Okay, thank you, George. Okay, then we have change order number 1 related to our concrete work for 2026.
Make a motion to approve change order number 1 for the 2026 concrete work program to include Jacobson Overpass Stormwater Wall Reconstruction Project. This is an increase of $13,575.54, resulting in an adjusted contract amount of $172,939.89 to Summers Construction, as submitted.
Second.
Any questions here?
Can that be explained a little bit?
Yeah, this is, I can explain this a little bit. This is for the change order in and of itself is for the concrete panels that were replaced on our streets. For this year, as we, if the board will recall, when we got the notice, when we awarded the project to Summers, they came in well under, they came in well under budget. We typically have a budget amount of $125,000 for this type of work, and they came in, I believe it was about $87,000 for the work that we wanted to get done. To stay within state statutes for going over for the project. We did note to the board at that time that we were looking at doing some extra work, but we had to stay within the 15% of the awarded contract amount to follow state statutes. So so this is kind of cleaning up some of the just kind of identifying and solidifying some of the overages that we had on the concrete panel project, knowing that we were staying within the 15% of the contracted amount and also staying under budget.
Thank you, Joe.
Joe, what was in the memo from Manager Sturgill, something about pinning to the overpass? What was that about?
Yeah, so so with regards to the retaining wall, that was, normally that retaining wall is connected to the bridge structure itself. However, the DOT, actually did not want us to, reattach the retaining wall to the bridge structure. Village Engineer Rybold had to go back through and see if we had to change the design at all, to make sure that the bridge, that retaining wall can kind of stand on its own, if you will. Luckily, Village Engineer Rybold told us, with talking to his team at McMahon, that we did not have to do, we don't really have to change the design really at all, so there's been no increase in cost from Summers on this. So we just had to do that analysis, just to make sure that that the wall itself could kind of stand on its own. So luckily it can, and we're looking at getting that underway shortly after Labor Day.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, those in favor of approving the change order signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Carries. And the next item we have is a budget amendment to provide the funds for a new K-9.
I'd like to make a motion for the 2026 budget amendment to provide funds for the Police Department K-9 program in the amount of $32,300.
Second.
Okay, Chief Callen, want to comment at all?
We just want to continue with the program that we had started since Hans had retired in the spring, in the winter. We were able to get everything set up to send Sergeant Jack down to Albuquerque for the training. I believe he'll be going down about September 11th. And we'll be down there for a couple of weeks for the training and then bringing the dog back with him. So just want to continue on with this program. The K-9 fund is healthy enough to be able to do so at this point, so we're just moving forward.
Do we know his name?
We do not. It is a shepherd, but I do not know the name yet.
Okay.
Do you want to sell naming rights?
Go ahead.
Raise some money?
Yeah, we could.
Good. Be a great way to fundraise.
I think Tim is a cute name. Right?
Timmy?
Tim. Little Tim. Timmy.
For training, it should be a one syllable.
Just sounds cute.
Then we call the dog, and Tim would come.
Never know.
Captain, or the chief would come, yeah.
Okay, is this,
Want to do a
Roll call.
does this take a roll call? Does it? Okay, so a budget amendment, so we need a roll call vote.
Trustee Van Dyke.
Aye.
Trustee Kepi.
Aye.
Trustee Raditz.
Aye.
Trustee McQuillan.
Aye.
Trustee Swartz.
Aye.
Trustee Hansen.
Aye.
President Youngquist.
Aye.
Carries 6-0.
Okay, then we have a proclamation, I think it's a new recognition called Crash Crash Responder Safety Week.
Make a motion that the Village of Fox Crossing hereby proclaim the week of November 2nd through November 6th, 2026 to be Crash Responder Safety Week as submitted.
Second.
Am I correct in that? This is a new recognition that,
Yes, this is something at least new that was sent to all. I think this has been going on for a few years. It's the first time that we've recognized it, and it was the first time I was made aware of it. But I do believe it's because the Federal Highway Association, administration, I'm sorry, they really are pushing it this year, and so the Wisconsin Department of Transportation got on board with this, and so they're really pushing it, trying to raise awareness for crash responder safety. So that's when there's a crash on the highways, on a road, those, whether it's the fire, police, first responders, and then they are staging in order to help the situation. It's become more and more, there have been more and more incidents where then motorists are striking or somehow causing problems during the crash response and then causing secondary crashes. So I think there's a rising concern, and so they wanted to try and raise awareness, make sure people understand to please slow down and move over. And so they sent out an email asking all agencies to and communities to promote this. So we're promoting it.
I think it's worth noting that second paragraph specifically states that I believe it's a state law that bans cell phone use in an emergency response area. So make sure that motorists are aware of that if they're coming on something like that, to shut it off.
Well, that's a really good point. And I actually just, when I was driving back, just this last weekend, when I was driving back, there was a crash, and I could see the person ahead of me had their camera or their phone, and they were literally filming it as they were driving by. I saw it. I was like, wow, that's not the smartest thing, but so.
It's also illegal now.
okay, so we have a motion and a second. Those in favor of approving this proclamation signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Carries. And we have 3 operator license applicants.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the operator license applicants for the 3 individuals listed there for the 2-year license, which begins July 1st of this year and goes through June 30th, 2028, as submitted.
Second.
Okay, those in favor of approving them signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Carries. Then we have expenditures.
Make a motion that the Village of Fox Crossing Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the above expenditures in the amount of $3,451,743.59 to be paid with the exception of none.
Second.
Any expenditures that have not previously been answered as to questions?
I would just ask that Director Searle maybe make a comment regarding, again, a relatively large amount that we don't normally see on a regular basis, and I think it's due to TID issues.
Correct, yeah, so TID incentive payments for the developer agreements for the different TIF districts are all due August 31st, and that's because second installment for tax payments are July 31st. If they've paid all their taxes, that makes them eligible to get this year's incentive. So this check run has the incentive payments for all developer agreements in the TID districts. It's the one time a year that we have this type of an activity. Since it is a relatively large number, totaling a little over 1.2 million, I thought I'd break that out for you. And then to just provide a better understanding, letting you know each of the agreements and the current status with where we're at and balances remaining.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions at all? If not, those in favor of approving the expenditures signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Carries. Then we have some reports. First is Chief Sweeney regarding Safety Day.
Yeah, thank you. Fire Department Safety Day is September 10th? 12th, that's what I thought. 12th, from 10 to 2 at Fire Station 40 this year. So come on out, it'll be the same as last year, sunny and 70 degrees. And there'll be fun games for the kids and informational, educational stuff for the adults and free food.
Great. And then Director Dearborn, zoning code update?
Just wanted to go through, summarize where we are right now. The Planning Commission had a informational meeting last week to go through this in more detail. There's, you have in your packet or access to it, the first part of this process, which details a lot of the information. Just kind of a real quick summary. As some of you may know, our original zoning code was basically from Winnebago County. That was adopted in 2013. We've been updating it since then, but still, it has a lot of challenges. We modified it following incorporation and reduced setbacks for lakes and streams, that sort of thing, but there's a lot more to go. As the reason we're starting this process is that the current code needs more flexibility. It's unclear sometimes. I've had police officers say, where do you find that? Well, you can't find it easily. It's a lot of the stuff is there, but it's unclear, difficult to find. The village, of course, staff prepared and you awarded an RFP for MSN Consulting. That process has started. Actually, it started in May, but phase one is the just existing condition review. That's just completed, and we did a report on that. One of the issues with zoning regulations, any regulations at all, is it's sensitive to the public. We recognize that. We have direct contact with the public when they want to build a house, when they want to do certain things. They want to either reduce or increase the setbacks. So it's a sensitive issue we've got to go through carefully. We had an informational meeting at Evergreen Credit Union already, gained some public input there. Unfortunately, because of the storm event that we just talked about earlier, it was a very great challenge. We were unable to have a second meeting, but we'll continue to solicit public information. Some of the key issues we're going to address are housing affordability. Well, no, that's a major problem. Again, I mentioned the user friendliness. We got to address that. We're going to examine lot sizes, setbacks, the potential for accessory dwelling units on single-family lots. Again, all sensitive issues. We want to have a lot of public input on that. Infill within existing developments. You just approved a certified survey map on a lot that's not ideal, but it would allow for an additional single-family home, so that's infill. Some of the concerns we've typically had, and you've all heard it already, noise, dust, pollution, traffic, data centers are a big issue right now. I don't think we're a target for that, but it's an issue we need to address. The goal is to protect the current property, current quality of life for residents, and we'll continue to do that. There was a survey completed. I know at the last meeting, some residents expressed concern, why didn't I get to take the survey? That's always an question or issue with surveys. The surveys are intended to gain input at one specific point in time, but we're certainly not locking out people to provide additional comments. We encourage that from the public. We're going to continue to collect additional information, and we have a number of additional public meetings that will be done. We'll do reports at the Planning Commission meeting, and all of this information's on our website as well. The schedule, this is a long process. It started in May. We anticipate, if all goes well, that we would see adoption by the village board in late April of 2027. So there'll be lots of times to provide input. We're soliciting and asking for public input throughout this process, and we hope people will comment.
Any questions for George? Thank you, George. And Village Manager Sturgill, storm recovery, update.
Thank you, Village President Youngquist, and thank you for the comments earlier. I really appreciate that. And I do agree that the team really has done a fantastic job. I mean, the two chiefs have been phenomenal. So and as has the rest of the team. So I really appreciate that. As far as storm recovery, we do have some things to talk about, and let's just go through that stuff pretty quick. As far as construction and vegetation debris removal, we have ended our construction debris removal. It was as of the end of, on Friday, last Friday. I think we will take one last potentially, Joe, I don't know, one last, just because there was some stuff that was lingering out there, but it's basically done. It's done, so the construction debris, if folks need to take care of that now, they're gonna have to hire someone to take care of that, or insurance. Vegetation debris. Right now, the messaging currently going out to the residents is that the enhanced debris collection will end on Friday, September 4th. That's kind of where Superintendent Bauer and I are sitting right now. I have had some conversations with a couple board members, so I just, this is something I think that Superintendent Bauer and I are requesting some guidance on. From you guys, if September 4th is okay, or if this is something you guys feel we should extend. I'm kind of throwing that out there. I would just simply say the reason why we came up with September 4th is a large amount of the debris from the roadways has been cleared, and September 4th is the end of the September brush collection week. So that's kind of where we came up with that. If you guys feel like we need to extend that longer, I think you need to provide us guidance on that. I guess I'm kind of throwing that at you, but if you guys have any thoughts on that?
I just have a question. When you say that keep it extended, does that mean that keeping Whitman open to bring that stuff there?
Well, that's something we need to talk about as well, is how do we want to handle that? Currently, we were thinking of closing that on the 4th, because at some point in time, we have to get that controlled so that we can get that stuff ground, get it out of there, and then get the fields repaired. I know Director Geiser really needs to get Whitman Park back in action.
Yeah, and it has to be rebuilt from ground up. It's destroyed.
So this is gonna be a little bit of a complicated issue.
Yeah, you have gardeners over there.
Yep, exactly. So, and part of the problem is, it's not, I wouldn't say a huge problem, but we have had some illegal dumping there, meaning, there would be if people are coming and dumping the vegetative debris, that's one thing, but we actually have they're dumping construction, or they're dumping garbage, or they're, at night and stuff like that. So we're gonna, in order to truly get this fixed, we're gonna have to shut it down in some manner, we just are. But, like you said, there are gardeners there, we do have renters, and the issue with renters too is that a lot of those have been rescheduled. Maybe they were renters at Palisades and we've moved them or done whatever. So, I think we have renters for a couple more weekends, and then that actually ends for the season. So that's that's a little bit of a separate thing, but yet tied together with the debris collection. So, I think right now we're looking at September 4th to try and close the drop-off site down. Now, I know it's inconvenient, but people can always come over to the municipal complex here and dump till the end of the season. And also, they could always go directly to the Outagamie County landfill and dump. So that's closer. If you're on the east side too, you can head over that way. So there still are options. I know Whitman has been fantastic, right? But at some point, we do need to reclaim it and get it back in under Director Geiser's hands so she can get it back operational. But if you guys have other thoughts, I mean, this,
So September 4th are just kind of back to normal operations then, right? So if I have some branches I want chipped, I got to get into the chipping program or I
Yes.
drop 'em.
yes.
Yep,
And then we
okay.
have October, we have 2 weeks in October, correct? So, but then that's just normal brush. But
Yep.
I think part of our thought is that, you know, we didn't want to even shut the debris down earlier because we knew that if we did that, everybody's just going, and then our guys would get overwhelmed just in normal brush. We figured, let's just do it to the 4th, get it through that week, and then back to normal operations. And then we'll have brush in October, 2 weeks in October. And that's what we do every year. I mean, 2 weeks in October.
What about, like, the trees that haven't been taken care of yet? Like, is there, what do homeowners do with trees that have to come down that haven't come down yet? Huge branches that are stuck between other branches? Like, what does a homeowner do then?
Yeah, I mean, that's really, ultimately, that's kind of where we need your guys' guidance, because I guess at some point, what is the transition period? Because technically, these are private trees owned by the property owner. So when we talk about FEMA, which Director Cyril will kind of get into all of this a little bit, but at some point, if we do get FEMA money, and that's not guaranteed, I don't want to jump the gun and get into all of that, but at some point in time, both the State Disaster Fund and FEMA cut off when they're going to be paying for things. So as we extend this stuff out, then it is the village taxpayer picking up this debris bill. So then the question becomes to the board, how much do we want to how much debris do we want to pay for, basically, from private landowners? I guess that's kind of the question. So,
Could I interrupt for a second?
yeah.
So on that front, when you start looking at FEMA or the state, they really look at it as really just those first couple days after getting the roads opened up and the right-of-ways cleared. And you start bringing stuff from the yards out to the right-of-ways, and they're kind of like, no, we're not covering that, right? We're just worried about the disaster part of it, the initial, getting the roads back open and things like that. So we're saying that we might have $1.2 million of brush-related removals, and FEMA might look at that and say, okay, yeah, but for the last 3 weeks here, we're not covering any of that because your roads have been open, and that you're just being nice to your residents, which is great, and that's your choice, but that's not what FEMA's about or the state's about. So we have to be very careful in that, and that's why Manager Sturgill's kind of saying it's really your call, because at the end of the day, it'll end up becoming out of the normal tax treasury for the village, most likely. We haven't been through something like this, so I'm not speaking from an exact position of knowledge, but that's what I've been reading and seeing out there. So there is a bit of risk if we say, oh, we'll just extend it out to the end of September because people have trees on the backside of their house and it has to get cut up and hauled around, things like that. We may choose to do it to be nice, but it would be at the expense of all taxpayers, not necessarily state or federal funding for it. They really do emphasize those first 24 to 48 hours, and then they get very critical of the expenditures outside of that. Even when you're talking public safety, having roads closed and having to monitor stuff like that, doing it for looting purposes sometimes doesn't even get included.
And I just have one more question, is when we fill out that form, or when residents fill out that form for pickup, is there a maximum size that a branch can be, or tree trunk, or? That's a Brian Bauer.
No, I mean, if it's over the size at which our street crews can chip it, then we'll clamp it, put it in the back of a vehicle and haul it away. While we're on that subject, just to kind of go back to what Trustee Van Dyke had commented about the chipping program for the upcoming September pickup for routes outside of Thursday's garbage route. That is something that has to be requested for pickup. The Thursday garbage route is most of the storm, the heaviest storm damaged areas on the east side. So that is continuing to be on an ongoing basis through the time that it's going to be, that we're gonna come to an end with the vegetative debris cleanup, but the other, essentially, other days of garbage routes in the village are going to be request only for this September pickup.
I guess, are we seeing additional trees being pulled to the curb
Yes, we are. On my side, they sure are.
Same with me.
from storm damage, or?
Oh, yeah, they're
Okay.
cutting them, yeah, because they couldn't get anybody to cut them
Okay,
because
That's
the tree people are all booked up. They can't even get to you for an estimate. So they're having people, families or whatever, getting together and pulling it all to the curb. I've seen it all over on my side. And they're high, so be prepared.
That's good to know, because I'm thinking a reputable tree company is required to get rid of everything, right?
And
But you can't
In
get them,
theory.
that's the thing.
that's, okay, that kind of is part of the issue.
Yep.
I would say. I totally get this. This is a tough call. Like, for example, Village President Youngquist and I, Friday afternoon, drove around the entire side, and it was clear Friday afternoon. There were a couple of small, minor piles. And,
Yeah,
and.
Saturday and Sunday, yeah.
But, yeah.
On the
Saturday
weekend?
and Sunday, and we knew this was gonna happen, which is why we extended this out. So then here, at noon, I went back over there and drove through. And there were piles back out. Now, it's not anywhere near what it was, obviously, at the height, but there are some piles. So I guess the question is going through 2 more weeks, so there's this weekend that we're going through, and then the next weekend, I guess that's the question, right? Is that then enough? Is that enough time? Because you kind of hit it on the head. What should be happening is the private contractors should be coming in at this point, and when they pay, because they're charging full price,
Oh, yeah, yep,
but then they're leaving it on the terrace.
got it.
And then, they're just doing that, and we're picking up the bill. I kind of hate to say it, but that's what's happening. Now, the reason why I would agree to extend it is if I truly thought it's as Trustee Hansen is stating, where family and volunteers and the property owner, him or herself, is pulling the stuff out. That's a different story. That's like more of a service. But really, it's the private contractors that are kind of making money off the situation. So I don't want to get taken advantage of either.
Right.
So, but at the end of the day, we can do it. I mean, we can extend this out. It's up to,
Or do we do a modified and they put a request in, so, Mike and Chris go over and help Barb, hey, we pulled out a bunch of trees, can you guys run through this week, right? And we put a request in, would that work, or is that
well.
too much work?
I don't know, I guess Superintendent Bauer has his pulse on this a little closer than I do. I mean, I don't want to speak, I think I know what's going on, but he knows what's going on.
As Manager Sturgill was mentioning, we have still 2 contractors here yet that are still working for us. We did scale them back quite a bit. We do have them kind of staggered on the backside. If we need them, we can pull them in.
Got it.
They're parked here. We can pull them anytime. So if the brush gets out of control, we can grab them for a day or 2. They're willing to work with us on that. I guess our fear was knowing that we have a chipping program coming up. Everybody's gonna be on the last minute. They're gonna wanna get their stuff out there, and it's gonna be overwhelming on our half. But as long as we have their assistance to back us up, to get us to that September 4th is great. But as Manager Sturgill was mentioning, it's like, when we get into October, you're gonna have these last staggering people that have procrastinated.
Yep.
And how far are we gonna go with this? Are we gonna stop it at the September 4th, or Are we gonna go all the way to middle of October? And now, we're kind of strapped at that point, because now we're gonna be going in the leaf program for 6 weeks. Granted, it'll be a little bit less on the east side, but,
Yeah, a lot.
they're just things I think that
We lost a lot.
need to have a hard date somewhere in there. Enough's enough. And I guess that's kind of what we're looking for.
I just kind of thought that you could go until the end of September. And then by the end of September, then everybody should have their, their stuff out and done and cut, because they're doing it themselves.
Well, I still think, I mean, the more we're seeing, it's contractors. 100%.
I've seen one on, driving around Midway and whatnot. I've seen only one, but they didn't have anything on their truck, so I couldn't tell anybody who they were because they had nothing on their truck.
I believe there was also, I believe there was I want to say there was a massive crane on the very north end of Lakeshore Drive today, that were pulling huge trees out from back at the very north end of the cul-de-sac of Lakeshore Drive, that was pulling trees out from the property over there and dropping them off inside the cul-de-sac. So
Well, we have a branch or part of a tree that's in the water. And no one that we've contacted will take that half a tree or whatever it is out of the water. And I don't know what to do with it. It's on our dock. There it sits. Next to our dock. We've called all kinds of people and go, no, we're not doing that. Okay.
I have one question about the service we're talking about. And I really thought the limit was a 4-inch diameter trunk and 4 feet long. Is that not the case anymore?
That's more so for what fits into what we are allowed to take for chipping.
Okay.
When we have if there's something that's bigger than that, the street crews will use different machinery to basically clamp the pile and then haul it off site.
And the service that we're talking about ending on the 4th is that, and then the service that continues. Oh, shoot. Sorry, pick up your computer. I just knocked over my water.
And now Dale's
Here's some
sitting in
tissues.
it.
That's all I got.
I don't want to lose my train of thought. So my question is the service that you're talking about ending on the 4th of September, there we go, cutting trees on people's properties that are like broken in half? Or are you just talking hauling them away, either with the big clamp or the chipper?
I think what we try to do is trying to end using the private contractors and go back to our normal operations.
Okay.
For brush collection. This goes back to the idea that the intention of brush collection was to basically keep it to branches and stuff that would fit, stuff that would be easily chipped. And I know we've had that discussion with the board previously about that type of service, but that's kind of what would be the intention of, and then, instead of it being, and then we'd be ending the basically ongoing collection, through the storm, the harder hit areas of the storm.
So the one collection in September, or is there two?
It's the first week of September.
Okay.
And
Well,
then two in October.
The other biggest thing is, most people in say trustee Barb Hanson's area, is that those trees are like 3 foot round.
Mm-hmm.
An average homeowner is not gonna be cutting that
Right.
size of a tree. They're gonna hire a contractor, they're gonna pick up that tree and they're gonna put it on the curbside for us to pick up. Well, at what point, we can do it, but then we still need to get rid of it. Large tree. Normally, per our policy, it states that they have to take it down to the county landfills, either Outagamie or Winnebago as a contractor. They're on their own. but that's where we also need to shut down our drop-off sites for that large quantities. I mean, that's,
So the larger trees that exceed the chipping program limits they're not, in other words, the professionals that are supposed to be doing it, they're not taking the trees away, they're leaving them on the curb for us.
Some,
correct.
Yes,
not all, but some.
correct.
That would also mean I would expect that we will have to continue to rent that tub grinder if we're going to continue to pick up any large diameter limbs and trunks, because
Yes.
we don't have the capacity for chipping that.
That'd be.
So there's another cost involved in this over and above
Talking
just picking the
months.
trees up.
Additional months, large expense.
How long would it take to get that park back in order, Whitman, first of all? If we shut everything down on the 4th?
A year.
Do we know at all?
To be honest, I think
Everything.
it'd be next year
Yeah.
in spring.
Okay.
Right now, when you go off the
Right.
parking lot, it goes way down. The soccer fields are gone.
Right. Okay.
And it goes all the way back to the trail almost on both sides.
And it's huge, tall.
And that
Okay.
would be, and it would be something where I don't think village staff would be able to handle that type of work ourselves.
Correct.
That would have to be
Correct.
something that would be hired out to fix,
To do that, right?
yeah,
Okay.
to do that work.
Oh my
Okay.
gosh, yeah.
I guess looking at it, my opinion would be, I would say go out one more week, September 11th, cut it off. But let everybody know that is our cutoff. Give everybody 3 weeks to modify, get who they need for their contractors, if anything, if they're having family members come. These are your 3 weekends, Labor Day weekend's coming up. And by the 11th is a cut, I'm.
And
throwing
could you
out
put
there.
something in there like,
I would say
it is
you
the
have-
contractor's responsibility to
Right, but
remove
you
the
have 3
trees?
weeks as of this point. We're cutting it off on September 11th, we're done.
For residents.
For residents.
Yeah.
I think just one more week extended. I'm just throwing it out there as,
And then they can fill out that form for
Correct.
their regular
Correct.
recycle pickup. Right? Because that's when brush is picked up, is on your recycle week. I think that's fair.
Do we have brush pickup scheduled in September? Normal?
2 in October, I thought you said.
Yeah, we have our brush pickup will start next week for our September pickup. So it starts September 1st.
But it's only 1 week, right?
Only 1 week, and then we have 2 weeks starting at the end of September and into early October. That'll be our last brush collection period for the year. And then right after and then immediately when that ends, then the street crew goes into leaf collection.
So we're done with brush.
Yes.
And how long is it open here?
September 11th.
7 days a week.
No, I mean, like, do you close it after a certain period of time?
Oh, generally, it's November 15th is
Okay.
when we close
So
it
there's still
down.
time.
'Cause at that point, we were already putting our snow equipment on, and the capabilities of hauling with the trucks is gone.
I like Tim's suggestion, add that additional week. And now, what do we gain out of that week? 2 days is that what we schedule, is 2 days in a given week, or?
I guess it all would come down to how much is out there. I mean, if we had to go all 5 days, we could, with the quantities that could be out there. But right now, I can probably see maybe 2 days worth a week right now, but it can change. You get the word out there and people are gonna say, hey, time's almost over.
Yep.
Hope that they're gonna do their due diligence, I guess, and get their stuff out.
That's what I'm
But
saying.
the other fear is also knowing that we have 2 weeks in October coming around, and they may procrastinate to that point, and what do you do? I mean, it's,
Well, I think
It's-
one benefit is having Labor Day weekend. So for everyone
Right.
who's working like mad, they'll have a 3-day weekend to help get their yard in shape. That there's a benefit to your
I'm
suggestion.
yeah, like I said, I'm just throwing it out there as a,
But I guess what I would be mostly concerned is that we communicate effectively.
Especially if your brush pickup is every other week.
And that would be, and that's what meets the
That's it.
yard waste
Right.
criteria.
Okay.
So that's it, so that's the other side, that's the other side of this too, is when you get the vegetative debris that's down small enough, into small enough piles, like, we've seen where these piles have gotten so small where it's basically twigs and stuff like that are left. That would fit, that more so fits under the yard waste collection category.
And that's Harders.
Rather than, which is which would be through Harders. And that's on an every other week basis where they come through for yard waste pickup. And that's what we've been recommending to residents that have those small piles that are left, is if it fits the yard waste criteria, put it in the biodegradable bags and have Harders take care of it.
So looking forward to the 2 weeks in October, could we get a hired crew in like the second week? So if we get overwhelmed that first week, could you pick the phone up and say, hey?
Yes. I
Okay.
think that would be probably a wise choice on our half.
Yeah,
For sure,
that's what I'm
keep them on
thinking.
standby for that last.
Yep, last hurrah. Yep.
Are you talking
Yeah.
about vegetation that's left?
What's that?
What are you talking about? Vegetation that's still left that
So,
people
so the
have?
tip spot, I can support going through September 11th. We communicate the heck out of it. We got the 2 weeks, late September, early October of normal yard waste pickup, and then, people procrastinate, right? And Brian gets overwhelmed that first week. We call up a crew or two to help us that second week, and by October or whatever, 6th or whatever, we're done. You can bring it to the drop-off after that, so. But in theory, right, to Brian's point, if you got a 3-foot tree, I sure hope the heck that Mike and Chris aren't out there cutting a 3-foot diameter tree down, because we're not qualified, so.
Well, I'll call you though.
We're not qualified.
Bring your saw.
14-inch chainsaw is not gonna cut that, so.
I think what I would like to do with the board's approval in terms of messaging with this, and I'll work with our administrative assistant Des Rich on getting the word out here, but I'd like to move forward, but also remind residents that if you're having private contractors take down these trees, that they should be responsible for hauling them away. So
Yeah.
if the board is okay with that, I'd like to include
Yes,
that
that was what I.
in the message.
Because you know dang well the resident is getting charged for that, so.
Yeah, and it's going out to the curb. That's
Yep.
not right.
Yes, so.
I mean, that crane that I saw, I was right by Barb's house, I literally drove right by your house. And right down, this crane was the biggest land crane that I've ever seen. It was massive, and they were hauling that tree over the house and landing it right down in the cul-de-sac. And I'm like, my guess is that's exactly where it's gonna stay. I mean, I would be shocked if they actually hauled it out. Now, if they did, that's great.
Right.
But I'm not thinking.
I'll go down the street and
Yeah,
find out.
Yeah, I'd be kind of curious because it was a big tree getting hauled over the house.
Aren't they supposed to get a permit to bring that crane in?
Yeah, not that I'm not aware of any. I couldn't believe that they got it down that road.
Yeah.
It was,
I heard a really loud, something going by when I was in the living room.
Probably hauled it in on a
they
flatbed.
had,
Yeah.
the problem is that I couldn't get down any further. They had a big dump truck blocking the road. So I couldn't, and I needed to get back, so I just turned around. I didn't even make it down there, but you could see the crane dropping it
So
down.
maybe they were loading
I
and
know
getting rid of it,
exactly
so.
where it went.
All right, did you get what you need, Jeff and Joe, on that one?
Yeah, on that, yeah.
Good.
Thank you. And then, just real quick on Whitman then, taking that to September 11th then as well and cutting it off or going to,
Yeah,
I would think so.
okay. All right, so September 11th on that, and then we're cutting that off.
What
Okay.
day of the week is that?
It's a Friday.
Okay.
All right. And
You had
then,
mentioned that you're
um,
having issues with people dumping. Do we need to get police or someone, private security in there to keep that from happening?
Well, and this is where I think we gotta figure this out, because what I would really love to do is just simply close the thing off. But we have other people who are, like the gardeners and other who are using it. So it becomes I'm not exactly sure, I'm trying to come up with the best way of securing the site. I just don't want any more, whatever our date is, let's cut it off and then let's go, because, you know, again, I would agree with Superintendent Bauer that this is gonna take months, to
Yeah.
rehabilitate this park. It's almost like it got destroyed itself, you know, in the,
It did.
in the tornado. It's so, if you've seen that, I don't know if you've been over there, we have drone footage. East Central, Phil reached out to East Central for us, and they ran some drones and went over that. It's incredible, that pile is just.
I live across the street. I'm very impressed with the operation over there and how they have the logs over here and, you know, brush over here and then chipping over there. My question is, where's all this chipping gonna go?
That's been going to, Buckland's has been the one that's been grinding it down for us, and then they haul it to they've been hauling it to their site.
So they want it?
Yeah.
Wausau. They've been taking a lot of it to Wausau.
How many gardens are actually in Whitman?
They were all being used
16?
I
and,
don't think it's that many. 10 or 12?
Yeah.
10 or 12?
yeah,
So what
the
do we?
numbers don't go in order for some reason, but.
I mean, if we just refund 10 or 12 gardens for a couple months,
No.
The issue is these gardeners have put their time and
Yeah.
effort into
Yeah,
these.
it's harvest season.
It's harvest season, so.
Yeah.
Amanda's right, that's.
what kind of season?
Harvest.
I would, couldn't you
Give them a
like
time to harvest. Tell 'em
create some
next
kind of
Friday's
card
harvest day.
for the
You know.
plot technically owner?
Yeah, I mean, I'll leave that up to George's department. To be honest with you, the gardens are operated by the Sustainability Committee, so I'm going to defer some of that to community development. We have renters that go through the so if the 11th is a Friday, if that's what you're saying, the last pavilion rentals at Whitman Park are the following 2 days, the 12th and the 13th. So in theory, after the 14th, if a way can be figured out to let the gardeners in, the park can be closed.
Yeah.
Did
You don't wanna
someone
have
just put
this,
up concrete barriers?
Assembly room
Prevent
filled with
people from-
gardeners, they'll get angry.
Yeah.
Well, you
uh,
can't
put a
put
lot of effort
concrete
in.
barriers because then the gardeners can't get
Well,
there.
but leave a section for the gardeners.
Right, right.
Oh,
And then put concrete barriers so people can't drop off any vegetation.
They're very dedicated.
I don't know, food for thought. You guys can figure it out.
This
Let
is
us
what I'm
know.
saying. Yeah,
Yep.
it's just trying to figure that out.
Yep.
Yeah, so. Okay, then, move, the next item, I just. want-
Jeff, could we go to that weekend, Friday? Why would you stop on a Friday? Go through the weekend, and then on Monday, they shut everything's going to be shut down on Monday.
and that would be the last round to pick up, so
Yeah,
families do go away for the weekend.
I just don't understand that.
I mean, if you're talking about Whitman, if you're talking about the Whitman Park side of things,
No, well, that too,
I mean-
the stuff that's out on your curb and Whitman.
I mean, you're then asking, you then are asking the private contractors to be in on the weekend as well. So,
Oh, the ones that we hired?
the ones
for
that
the
we
park?
hired, if you're talking
that
about,
makes
or
sense.
having,
Oh.
or having municipal staff
Oh,
working on the weekend to collect, to be doing the actual collection.
oh, okay.
So there would be that would need to be considered if you wanted to extend collection through the
I
weekend.
got it, yeah.
I don't see
Yeah,
why
the
we
11th
would
is
dump
good.
the gardens. Screw the gardens.
So, okay, so September 11th?
Yep, I guess.
Okay, so we'll get that messaging out. We'll say that we've extended it from the 4th to the 11th, and identify, and I appreciate Director Hake's comments there about that, kind of differentiating between the large and then just brush. There are some folks that just put out this little tiny pile. It almost looks like a leaf pile. It's like, come on, work with us here, Okay. Then the next item would be the Appleton Water Connection. So this is a we've talked actually about this in a different context, really. But right now, about approximately 50% of the east side water is actually produced by the city of Neenah, and then coming to us via going into the Menasha system, and then diverting into our system. This really isn't how that system was designed. It wasn't, having a long-term solution where we're purchasing the water from Neenah through Menasha. It's looking right now like that treatment plant, it's going to take months, if not a year or so, for that to be constructed. It got hit very, very hard. So that thing is shut down. So Director Hakes has had a couple of conversations with the Appleton utilities. And basically, we are looking at doing whether we're going to do it emergency or whether we're going to do expedited, which is kind of like going through the regular process, but trying to speed it through due to the urgency of the situation. We're really trying to make this work. I think we have a meeting set up in the next week or so here. Director Hakes, I should have asked you this before.
Yeah, we're still trying to finalize the date with, this is something that, the city and I've been going back and forth with, the utility superintendent with the city of Appleton, as well as their director of public works over there, going back and forth on that. We do have Mayor Woodford's support on this connection. This next meeting that we're looking at trying to schedule, Mayor Woodford is going to be a part of that. So he would like either Village Manager Sturgill and or Village President Youngquist to be a part of that meeting. So we're looking at trying to finalize a date for that. But ever since this was brought up to the city of Appleton, they have been, the messaging from them has been they have been in complete support of doing what we need to do, doing what we need to do, and willing to work with us to try to get something like this to, trying to get something like this to happen.
Good.
I have a question related. The water prior to the tornado, we had talked a lot about the 40 or 50% that we're buying from the city of Menasha, and actually not losing money on it because what we charge doesn't cover the cost of the price of the water from Menasha. So I have two questions. One, if we choose to connect with Appleton, are our water bills going to change? And for the water that's purchased? And two, would we actually be causing distress or a delay in the longer-term Menasha water facility? In other words, if they lose selling this much water to us on a monthly basis, are they going to have enough to get their water utility working?
So I'll take that. So to answer your first question, it's not going to change it would not change the water rates at this time. It would not change the water rates for village customers at this time. Mainly because it's a backup connection. We'll have a water rate established by the Public Service Commission should this connection be made. That will and I'm only basing this off of their other wholesale water agreements that the city has. But their agreements are typically lower in terms of what their other customers purchase water from than what we purchase water from Menasha Utilities. So that would be a positive in that regard for us. That being said, this would really be, like I said, this is a backup connection that we're looking at this point in time. Per the agreement that we have with Menasha Utilities, there would need, if we were to try to make something like that permanent, there would need to be a 2-year notice to Menasha Utilities that we would be, trying to, change water supply providers. And that would truthfully have a significant impact on Menasha Utilities because we are their largest consumer.
Customer.
So that would have a significant impact. And that's something that, whether or not that would affect their, what they would have to rebuild over at their water plant, I don't know. That would have to be something that would have to be discussed, I'm sure they would have to have discussions with the DNR or the PSC in that regard. But yeah, how it would affect them, it would be a big hit to that. It would be a big hit to them, and that may be enough to say that the Public Service Commission may not even agree to allow that to move forward in a permanent basis. They're about trying to treat suppliers and customers fairly. So if you try to go with someone else, they may not allow that because it might devastate another supplier, public water system.
So you're talking only temporary?
I mean, the connection itself would always be there. We'd have a connection, we'd have an agreement with the city of Appleton that says if we need them on a backup supply, kind of situation that it would be available. But as of right now, they would not be the primary source that we would use.
And the primary source would be Neenah going through Menasha?
Well, the primary source would be Menasha Utilities once they're back up and running. The idea here is that what we're trying to do with the city of Appleton right now is because the original agreement between the city of Neenah and Menasha Utilities in terms of water supply is that once that valve is opened for the city of Neenah to supply Menasha, Menasha is supposed to close their valve to us. So in that regard, we're kind of left out to dry by, so to speak, I mean, figuratively, literally, with regards to how that agreement is supposed to work.
Okay.
Luckily, due to the devastation with the tornado, everyone has recognized the seriousness of the situation that we've been in. Thankfully, everyone has been on board with having this connection be the way it is, the way that we're operating right now. That's not to say that we don't have some concerns, hence why we're looking at this backup connection. I mean, we have some concerns because the Menasha distribution system is older, and if there was a significant water break in the Menasha lines, we could potentially be right back to where we were. Where, I don't want to I've been here less than 3 years and I've had to do 2 boil water advisories. And I'm trying not to do a third, so.
But building on Kate's comments, though, if it makes sense, we should have those discussions with the PSC, because if Menasha Utilities could build back smaller just to take care of their customers, wouldn't we all be better off in the long run?
Potentially, it depends because it really depends on, a lot of that depends on how fair it is for the Menasha utility customers as well. Because
Agreed.
if they can't, if they have significantly less income in order to cover their expenses, they may have to boost water rates significantly.
Yep.
And the PSC looks at that as not being fair to their customers.
Agreed. But I would like to see those conversations happen, because Manager Sturgill's comment, if it's a year before they're back up and running.
And this is something I think that would have to be that could be done, but I don't think it would necessarily need to be done at this point in time. I think the more critical reason why we're doing this is to get off of this connection between the city of Neenah through the Menasha system and have what we would consider to be probably a more stable backup water supply, one that we'd feel a little bit more comfortable having for the time being until Menasha Utilities would be, back up and running.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Director Hicks. That helps a lot.
Yeah,
Definitely think we need to continue that discussion,
yeah.
and perhaps with a bit of urgency.
Yeah, and that's something that, it is something that we are trying to move at a quick pace if we can, but I also want to, but as I've mentioned to the city of Appleton, I want to do this quick, but I want to do this right. So unfortunately, that may take a little bit more time to actually do this correctly. And I know Director Searle and I have had conversations about whether or not this would be considered an emergency matter or not with the PSC. There's risks involved, which we can discuss which we can certainly discuss at a later date. But there's pros and cons with either approach. So it's so I think in the most part I want to try to be as efficient to move forward as quickly as possible, but you also want to make sure that we do this the right way, so that it's not, so that we're not going back later and saying, boy, we really wish we would have done this differently.
Keep us posted, please.
Okay. So thank you. Yes, so the Appleton water connection obviously is very important. And if there is any, obviously we'd have to come back to the board for any action on that. So we'll keep you guys up to date on that. Just a couple of things with volunteers and donations. The VRC, the Volunteer Reception Center, that closed several weeks ago. Now the Multi-Agency Resource Center, or the MARC, that has closed as well. And so now, basically, everything's been turned back over, in a sense, to the nonprofits that are existing, who have the missions. Each mission is a little different, from Habitat for Humanity to Samaritan's Purse to Mercy Kitchen. All of them have slightly different, Salvation Army, Red Cross. That's where, if anybody still wants to donate, they can contact one of the the nonprofit, the charities, or their church, and work through those connections. And currently, staff is attempting to find out, and I know Village President Youngquist has been working with this on us. We're trying to find out exactly how all of this money that has been connected for people donating to United Way and then the other charities, how exactly this money is getting dispersed. I mean, it's not really ours to, I guess, disperse. We're not the overseers of it, but I do want to make sure that at least
Some accountability.
yeah, there's a little bit of accountability that for how it's going out. I think we're all trying to watch that, and I know Village President Youngquist has been in connection with people trying to work on this, and I think we've had some minor successes, but I just wanted to let you know we're trying to stay on top of that, to make sure we understand how the money is getting allocated out to those who need it. And then if there are individuals who still do need help, 211, please contact them. And that's from, whether it's physical help, it's also for mental health as well. That's also an option for people to reach out.
And that's a great place to contact, because I had a cousin that was severely injured in the tornado, and he was homeless, and he was all cut up, and weren't able to find him right away. We contacted 211. There was a gal by the name of Holly. She worked and worked and worked, and within a week, he was on the list, at the top of the list, I might add, to be placed into Dimensions. It's assisted living. It's the only place they could find for him.
but he's there and adjusting. So,
Oh, that's great. I'm glad that they were able to make that.
too.
Make that connection. There are, it's kind of a bit of a chaotic situation, but I think it's just naturally that way. You have all of these different nonprofits. They all do slightly different things. And so sometimes it's trying to find that right connection to get people the resources that they need. So then, moving on to Fire Station 41 and the Community Center, I did mention this before, but the three fire apparatuses have been removed from the bay. They are in Waiawega at a Pierce facility, still looking to be reviewed. We have not heard back regarding of the status of those trucks. Station 41, the bay has been cleared, and everything's been removed down to slab. And then as far as response, we do have a Grand Chute engine that is located at Fire Station 40. It will only operate for structure fires. We do have an engine borrowed from Pierce Manufacturing, and then we have that stationed at that old wastewater facility located on Airport Road. Now, regarding the facility itself, we still are waiting from the insurance company regarding the final, what do they think about the remainder of the building? We've already generally heard that the fire station portion of the building, they've considered that a loss. The part that we're still waiting on is the community center. The initial word that we heard was that maybe they felt that those walls were actually still okay, structurally sound, and to rebuild from there. But I don't know that we agree with that, but that's initial word, but we haven't heard the final word. So I'm waiting to see what that final word is on that.
so who's the face of dealing with the insurance company? Is that you, or is that,
Well, yeah, that would be Director Cyril.
okay,
So we are, well, Director Cyril will get into this in just a moment. I don't want to get too much into his part about this, but we are going to be hiring someone, I don't know where, I guess that's a Chief Sweeney and Director Cyril situation, but we are going to be hiring our own independent individual who will be looking at, well, not just the community center and the fire station, but it would also be the pavilion at Palisades, the dugouts, the Earl Street dugouts, anything that was damaged, that they'll be looking in, and
that's that Keller person?
that's what we're looking at, yes. Yeah.
Where are they out of?
So,
Who's Keller?
well, Keller Builders.
Keller Structures is based out of the Kakana area. Darway, Carpacona.
Oh, okay,
Smyrna.
Keller
Builders, I'm
Structures,
sorry,
okay.
yeah, the
Okay.
builders.
Jeremy will nail that down at department head tomorrow.
So, so with that, I need you guys to start thinking about this, because there are gonna be some bigger decisions that need to be made by the board, and guidance that staff is going to need on how to move forward with the rebuilding of everything. And those big decisions will probably need to come sooner, and then we can take some time to plan how it's actually gonna be. But what I mean by this is, so for example, the community center and the station, do we want to build it back the way it is? Or do we want to take this time and do it differently? I mean, that's kind of the question. So for example, and I'm just throwing it, I've had conversations with other residents. And I'm not trying to offend anybody here. I really am, I'm trying to be honest. I've had people say, well, why would you rebuild a full community center on the east side? Why would you do that? Why not put some rooms there, but have a community center on the west side? I'm just saying, these are things that I'm hearing. I'm not, please don't take, I know, I don't want anybody getting upset at me or anything. I'm just saying, I know this is a sensitive subject.
Yeah,
But I-
because then you have to have land.
Yeah, well, right. Well, we have land.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
I'm just saying, this is, please don't
Okay.
shoot the messenger. I'm trying. But, it's like, do we build back the fire station a little bit better, a little bit bigger? And then maybe put in a couple of rooms that the residents of the east side can use. It serves as a polling location and so forth. And then focus additional community center rooms on the west side. I'm just throwing this out there. These are, when I talk about big time things, this is what I'm talking about. Because, we can't start designing things and moving forward to things until we know these kinds of answers.
Would
We don't
community
need
input
to
help?
make this decision tonight. I'm just
Right,
saying,
but would community input help?
potentially, but it's also time, right? I mean, that it's, how quickly do we want to be moving to get back, to try and get back to a normal status, right? Yeah, I mean, if we want to go through that process, we can. You know, for example, I was having a conversation with Director Geiser earlier, talking about Palisades Park, for example. It's not just community center and fire station.
Right, it's
You know,
Palisades.
Palisades Park. Literally, if you look at that park, it was wiped. It is wiped. It really is. I've never seen anything like it. But the trees are gone, the pavilion is damaged,
Playground
the
equipment.
playground. I mean, if there was ever a
The
time
gazebo.
to reimagine, yeah, if there was ever a time to reimagine a park, this would be the time. But do we want to do that, right? So do we take a step back, have Amanda go through a master planning process and come up, you know, get the public input, get whatever, and know that it's going to be delayed for a while? Or do we just simply want, no, we want to get that going, let's just get it back? I mean, these are the kinds of things. So we'll need to, I want to just put this into your heads that you need to start thinking about Palisades Park. You need to be thinking about the fire station. Do we want to make it bigger on the east side, the fire station meaning? Tim, you're there all the time. I'm sorry, Trustee Raditz, you're there all the time. You know how small and cramped that is. Do we want to do something more there, or are we good with what we have there? Do we want to change the footprint of the community center there, or no? So, these are big questions. We can offer suggestions or thoughts, whatever, but you guys are gonna have to tell us how you want this to happen.
Well, because
Manager.
when you get your insurance check, they're only going to give you a check for what you've got. If you're going to add on, you've got to pay more money, you know, because you have to stay with that same structure, that same footprint. You could build up, but you have to stay with that same square footage that you've got, is what my understanding is. You can't,
Manager
you can't
Sturgill,
build,
Trustee Cappy and I are talking, we would suggest maybe holding a workshop
Yeah, right, we'll have
sooner
to.
than later, right?
Yep. No, and I agree, that's what we're gonna need to do. I just wanted to get you guys thinking about it now.
And you have my full support, you know, both fire and park, to do what's right.
Mm-hmm.
And if it means expanding and we borrow some money, I'm all for that, so.
Sooner, if I can interrupt, sooner would be good, though.
Yeah.
Because there's some decisions that Director Searle and Jeff and I have talked about, and Amanda and them, they're kind of waiting for some of those decisions already, so.
I just want to echo that I know that this is a process that will definitely take some time, but the longer this goes on, the more scattered
Correct.
the rec programs are throughout the community. Todd doesn't have a fire station, so I get that workshops take time to schedule, and yes, absolutely, we'll have to do that, but just, like Manager Sturgill said, there's some important decisions, and unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time to make those if possible, just to try and get us back to a home facility, and trying to get back to normal when it comes to rec programs, rental, fire protection, all of that kind of stuff. You know, Chief Sweeney and I have been talking, Jeff and I have been talking, we've been running some numbers as far as what happens over at the community center in terms of rec programming and where our residents are coming from, so that's all data that we could kind of look at down the line as well. I like your idea about the community input, but again, when it comes to time. But yeah, if there's any questions that come up specifically related to the community center part with the rec programming and the rentals, definitely reach out now because I can start pulling that data before we get to that point of sitting down and discussing that.
Are we free Thursday night?
So is there a, I was just going to say, could we just come up with an idea for a workshop right now while we're all here?
I think we need the insurance response before we schedule a workshop, and when are we going to get that? You know, the dollar amount, so we know kind of where we're at.
Well,
Yeah.
we've asked for that. I don't know if Director Ciro has heard anything additional on that or no. I know we asked for it.
I last spoke to them last week, Wednesday, and they were still waiting for their structural engineer to finish compiling, well, actually not the structural engineer, their builder to finish like, okay, here's what the cost would be if we did it, because that's what they need to make their final decision on what they're going to recommend. In the meantime, though, we need to get started with our structural engineer going through and doing that same process. So what was part of my commentary was going to be that if you want to think of this similar to what we do with our residents for annual assessments, they're going to have their number, we're going to have our number, we're going to discuss and then come to a conclusion. And then if we need to, we can appeal it to the actual insurance company itself, right? But the adjuster's the face of that. So I agree that doing it without numbers is difficult, adds a level of difficulty that we probably don't want to deal with, but we can't push them. But if we get our structural engineer and our people to come up with numbers, we at least have a basis for where we're thinking it's going to be, and I would have to imagine that we're not going to be too terribly far off.
Yeah, do we have a number of how much it was worth at all?
I can tell you what the cost of the structure was, because that's what we had it on the books for, which was about 1.4 million.
For the entire, for the community center and.
The whole entire structure that was there, we built it for 1.4 million, however many decades ago that was.
Okay.
The building consultant for the insurance company kind of threw out a round ballpark number of 4.6 to 6.4 million is what they were thinking it would be. But I don't know if they're saying for a complete tear-down rebuild, or if they're saying leave the community center walls the way they are, gut the building, clean it all up, make it look pretty, and then put a new roof on, and then rebuild the fire station the exact same way it was. We don't know where their brain was at when he said that number. If I was a betting person, I would think they were thinking that the lower end would be the keep the walls and rebuild number, but.
Correct.
But obviously, it's been open. There's going to be mold remediation. There's going to be a lot of headaches and issues with it. But ultimately, we can't make decisions. We can't react to them without knowing what they're going to say. And they did not give me a timeline. They just the insurance adjuster himself was impatient, not knowing, when he was going to get his number to even have the conversation.
Well, and you're going to have to figure out how much did you have that building insured for? And that's what they hang their hat on.
Well, sort of, not really. So with us, we have 15 buildings, 20 buildings valued at $32 million, whatever the number is. I don't have it off the top of my head. That's our cap. Each individual building adds up to 32 million, but if we lost all of our buildings, that would be our cap. But we only lose one. As long as we're under the 32 million, we're covered. So it's not here, you put this specific building at this specific number, that's your specific cap. It's not that.
The other thing here is that we're coming up on budget session, and decisions we're making going forward, whether it's short-term or longer term, obviously are going to have an effect on that budget discussion.
Correct.
So in a way, it's kind of at a good time if there is such a thing as that.
Correct.
But
Correct. And we're budgeting for 2027. We're doing the budgets as if everything was the same, because that's how our tax levy's been established, and we don't want to throw a monkey wrench in that and then come back in 2028 with all kinds of headaches. But we're identifying the amounts we don't think we will need because of not having that structure there and things like that. And then we know we have that money available for one-time purchases or strategic use of that funds. And that, so that we're not getting ourselves too far out. But you're correct, you don't want to go too far down one way budget-wise and then find out we're gonna throw it a 90-degree angle and go differently.
I'm sure that the fire trucks are insured, but you're not going to get replacement value unless that's the way the.
So this is great segue stuff. So one of the benefits with switching to CIVMIC, unfortunately for them, is that their policy, because they only insure Wisconsin municipalities, is all public safety vehicles are 100% replacement value. And when we were talking to them, they even said, if you have a 25-year-old fire truck that takes a biter, it's not the cost, it's the replacement value of it.
Or repair.
What's that?
Or repair.
Or, and I mean, if they can repair it, they'll repair it, right, but if they have to replace it, it is full replacement cost, not the purchase cost, so, yeah.
It's good to know.
They will obviously, if they say repair, then that's the amount they will pay, but, yeah.
So just, I'll finish up my stuff real quick so I can turn it over to Director Cyril. Just a couple other comments, just wanted to make sure everybody was aware. Chief Callan has lifted the curfew, and Chief Sweeney did lift the burn ban, or I guess technically I lifted it at your recommendations. So that has been lifted. And then the financing. So just I wanted to give you guys an idea of the numbers that we're looking at here. I put together this little table here, which was the summary in the memo. This is the summary of what Director Cyril submitted to the county and to FEMA. It would have been last weekend. Now, these numbers, kind of the way you look at it, it's a wild guess. That's kind of the term that's floating around at the county by everyone who's talking about it. It's your best guess at how this is going to go. And so Director Cyril will get more into these numbers. But just want to let everybody know, we do have our committed fund. This is very, very important, and I'll just summarize it real fast. In 2012, Director Pierre Grossi at the time and I worked with the board, and you guys were great, and we created this fund, this committed fund. It's 20% of the year's budget. It's an assigned fund, and it's money that can only be used by ordinance for basically natural disasters. The idea was, and if you look in the ordinance, it actually says tornado, natural disaster, earthquake, snowstorm, ice storm, windstorm. It was for these purposes specifically. And right now, that fund sits at $3.02 million. So, with this fund, that's why we've been able to move forward so quickly, and we have money for this. Once I declared the emergency, I did the emergency declaration, that opened these funds for us to be able to utilize for this recovery effort. Now, what Director Cyril and I would like to do is at the September 14th meeting, we'll have a little bit better handle, I think, at that point, as far as what do we actually need to do, because we'll want to shift the actual money out of the committed funds and move it into the general fund to then, make everything good. I mean, we have the money. The ordinance allows us to do this. It's just, we're trying to make the bookkeeping look good.
And you can commingle those funds?
Well, if they're for emergency purposes.
Okay.
The board can do whatever you want with it.
Okay.
So we have it is the board that set aside these funds. So, I mean, if you guys decided at some point you didn't want to do that anymore, you could take board action and do whatever you want with that money. But that's what it was specifically assigned for. So when you say commingle, it's not so much, it's specifically segregated for a purpose, but that's why the budget amendment would take it out of that assigned fund and it's to make the bookkeeping look correct. Let's see, before I turn it over to Director Cyril, so September 14th, we're bringing the budget amendment. Yeah, actually, I think that's good. I'll turn it over to Director Cyril at this point.
Sure. Thank you, Manager Sturgill. I just wanted to take a moment to do a bit of a review at a little bit more detailed level than what you had seen, but hopefully not get too into the weeds with it, and then talk a little bit about what's next. And where Manager Sturgill left off is a great way to do it. And I think the best thing I can say that in summary, based on all the numbers I've seen, for anything that's not covered by insurance and we're out of pocket, even if we don't get any federal or state disaster money, should come in less than the 3.02 million that's in the committed fund balance. So you can rest assured and sleep easy knowing that financially wise, we will be able to cover things and meet all of our commitments, and it will not affect operations, and it will not affect ongoing operations in that manner. We will have to talk through the budget workshop process. We might need to amend the ordinance for that, because I don't believe there was anything in there about if you've used this funds, how long it's going to take to rebuild those funds. And we definitely can't do it in the next 5 months or 4 months, so we'll have to look at that. But we'll work on that, and we'll talk more about that when we get to the first budget workshop. But we will do the budget amendment, as Manager Sturgill mentioned, September 14th, releasing several million of that 3 million to basically make it available. So now we're not going to show that we're over budget in wages or the use of equipment or the contracted expenditures and things like that. We have done the initial FEMA submission. We had accurate information, actual expenses through August 7th. The nice part about that is we did have payroll for the week of the storm in there. So we had really good numbers for the initial emergency response and information like that. And then when we had to submit that, I sat down and spent quite a bit of time with Superintendent Bauer looking at what we expected to do for all the different cleanups. So it is a swag guess type of thing, but it's, at least reasonably in the ballpark of where I think we might end up, of course, on the conservative side of it. So right now, we're basically in a tracking and gathering data state of mind, getting ready for submissions. FEMA, all I've heard and seen with any of my experiences with FEMA is that they require really low-level detail support for any number you have. And the equipment logs, for example, they have 6 different expenditure reimbursements for the chainsaws based on the bar length of the chainsaw. So our records need to say what type of chainsaw we're using if we want to claim any type of reimbursement for using our chainsaws in that manner. I can't just say that we were there cutting trees. We have to say we're using a 16-inch bar type thing like that. A pretty low level, not that we're used to tracking of it, but we're working on it. When it comes to the insurance, I did mention the adjuster's been here twice, and he is the same adjuster that is working with the city of Neenah and the city of Menasha, because we all have CIVMIC for our insurance and MPIC for our property insurances. So I've talked to him. He actually was telling me that they brought their reinsurance guys on board already to see things, because obviously with the 3 communities, they're going to be having a very large check writing time here. So they've already brought their reinsurance adjusters through as well. And I know they spent quite a bit of time at the Menasha Water Utility, because obviously that's going to be the big hitter in this. We talked about the structural engineering, where we're in that. We do have the claim opened up. They did okay the fire department side. They've also allowed us to incur things that we needed for safety. So we had Paul Davis Restoration secure the playground equipment at Palisades with fencing. They secured the community center with fencing and things like that. We do have the okay to do temporary rentals of facilities. So for Director Geiser to continue with winter programming if she needs to and she can, find adequate spacing, we do have the okay to go with that. And then they just kind of said within reason. So you're not going out and renting the Taj Mahal for something, but that we are able to do that. And I know Chief Sweeney's working on other avenues so that we can get a second fire truck on that side in support as well. So you might see more come that way. When it comes to lost revenues, so we're not able to rent the community center, you saw all of those refund checks over the last 2 board meetings. At the end of the year, or whatever time frame we end up using, we are able to submit that. We do have I think it's called business income or business continuity insurance, so we will be able to submit for lost revenues and things like that as well. When we talk about Whitman Park and recovering those soccer fields and getting the parking lot back in shape, the insurance adjuster said we may be able to claim that because it was the result of the cleanup, and there was a physical structure that is insured. But even if they don't, I would expect that we would be able to claim the damage that's done there under the disaster recovery funds. When we did the initial submission to FEMA, I included that as not being covered by insurance, and that we expected disaster recovery to do it. I'm just a little leery that a parking lot that was not damaged, or soccer fields that were not damaged directly from the storm, may not be covered, even though the adjuster said that there's a chance. So trying to take a conservative approach to it. As far as the state disaster funds go, They're pretty much on hold at this point. They have said they've taken information that from the submissions to FEMA, so they have ballpark ideas of what each community is looking at. But they do look at things differently. They don't cover regular wages, they only cover overtime wages. They have a much shorter time span for what they will cover for the emergency response, as I kind of mentioned earlier. And then their disaster funds, they look at it, whatever you submit, they will only reimburse up to 75% of it, and then they expect local coverage for the 25% of it. That's pretty much on hold right now. They wait to see what FEMA covers, and then they step in after the fact based on that. In terms of FEMA, the state applies to FEMA, which I believe has already happened, and then FEMA gathers the data, and they are in the process of that. They have not reached out to us for additional information, but I do know they've reached out to the city of Menasha to discuss their estimates that were put in there, so they are definitely reviewing things. They do not have a stated timeline for how long that takes, but then they will make a recommendation to the president, and then he will do what he does. And then after, if it gets approved, we have 30 days to submit an application saying, yep, we want help and we qualify. And then they'll assign an agent to us basically, and then we work one-on-one with that person to submit data at the detailed level that's needed and back and forth like that. And that's the part that can take several months to get done. And then once everything's approved and submitted, that's when they start releasing funds. So we will use the committed fund balance to cover that gap until we find out what's going on. And then what we'll talk about at the workshop is as insurance money comes in or as disaster recovery money comes in, that goes first to rebuild that fund balance and things like that. So FEMA has two thresholds. They look at a county-wide number based on population. That number looks like it's going to be in that $850,000 to $950,000 range, which we, as a county as a whole, have obviously hit that. They also have a statewide threshold based on the incident. From what I could tell, that number looks like it'll be in that $11 to $12 million range on the low end. So I'm curious to see how close we're going to get to that level. I don't know enough about it. I'm just trying to read as and go and try to be educated as best as we could on it. Manager Sturgill's memo showed the FEMA categories with disaster, or with debris clearance, protective measures, buildings, equipment, utilities, things like that. If you have any questions on that, I can provide much more detail on it because we have a spreadsheet that's got several tabs supporting it, and that is literally what we submitted to the county to be submitted to FEMA. We are looking at other funding sources if we can find them. There is such a thing as the DNR has an urban forestry catastrophic storm grant. If you meet the demographics for that, and we're looking into that to see if we would, and that would be up to potentially $50,000 to help with basically tree replacement and storm damage that way. Look for other sources as we can find them. And then we already talked about the fund balance. So that was kind of the high hitters of what I wanted to go over, and then see if anybody had any immediate questions that we haven't already talked about.
Sounds like you guys have been really busy.
A lot of reading.
Appreciate everything you're doing for our community.
A lot to absorb.
So if there are any other questions, otherwise, I knew this was gonna take some time, and it did, but I really, there's just a lot, right? There's a lot going on that you guys need to be aware of, and, you know, like I said, that September 14th, we'll bring a budget amendment, we'll get the numbers looked at a little bit closer, and try and get that narrowed down. So I think that's pretty much what we got.
Kate, you talked about any dates coming up that we could
Yeah, I mean,
plan?
can we
I
schedule
would say, I was
something?
gonna bring up, so workshop, is that something we wanna entertain?
Yes.
Yeah, well, the question I'd have for you guys is, more so the numbers side of it. Do you guys want, if we don't have the numbers, you know, from the insurance companies and stuff, do you guys want to have the because?
I would say yes, without the numbers,
regardless, we have to do
because
something.
Yeah,
I would
okay,
like,
I'm good with that. then.
I would like to hear, you know, Director Geisers and the fire, what improvements they would like to see, right? And at least start talking through those, right? You know, I think that's Trustee Hanson, you know, how do we balance, what additional borrowing do we want to do to augment the insurance check? So And, it sounds like we need to make some of those decisions sooner than later, so. I was gonna propose next Monday. I don't know if that's enough time, not enough time, so,
Is that Labor Day?
No,
no. Not Labor
August
Day.
31st.
Oh,
31st.
perfect.
How do you guys, Monday, next Monday, will be here? I mean, I'm good. I just want to make sure, and if you guys can do next Monday,
I can.
okay.
Do we have to have
time?
Jeremy?
Yeah, you're good next Monday?
Virtually.
Oh, virtual, yeah, that's good. Meet you virtually, if you don't mind.
Not at all.
Okay, good, as long as you're gonna be there.
Should we just shoot for 6 o'clock?
Yeah, 5
5?
o'clock?
5 o'clock?
5 works for me.
Please?
Yeah, that's fine.
5 o'clock?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
All right, so 5 o'clock next Monday, and, yeah, just start thinking about, I guess the main issues would be fire station, community center, Palisades. We'll try and get a little more info on what's going on with Appleton Water, just to update you.
I'll talk to insurance again.
Yeah, we'll try and get some stuff from insurance to see if there's any updates there.
You gonna put an ending time on it?
5 to 9.
5, 7 maybe? I don't know, 2 hours enough you get, I mean, or we could just let it, it's kind of your call.
Stay to the subject.
Yep, you guys tell me.
Say 5 to 8, split the difference.
Okay,
Yeah.
5 to 8, and then if we end up earlier, that's great.
And so are we supposed to eat?
We can get something, if you guys want, we'll get something.
He can treat us.
Why don't we do a potluck? Everybody bring something.
I'd prefer not to cook, but
Oh,
I like when we had those lunches in a bag or a box or something.
We could do that,
Those came from, those are cool.
we could do that, we could do pizza, whatever you guys want.
Michael's Restaurant will cater that. Fox
We
lunches.
used to get them, I think, from Pick and Save or something, wasn't it, Jeremy?
Yeah, festival.
Festival, I know, was one of them. Those were good.
Well, how about, I'll tell you what, we'll get pizza, we'll do the festival at budget time. And for one of the night, but pizza, then that way, it's easy because everybody just eats whatever.
Yep.
So, that sound fair?
I'm excited.
it's great.
You're excited.
You're excited for pizza? It's my favorite food.
Oh, is it? No.
Okay, it's entertain a motion to
Your
adjourn.
edits here for the.
Second,
So moved.
second.
It's easy to draw.
Those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye. I forgot to
Okay, we're
adjourn.
adjourned.
Holy man, who adjourned?
Village of Fox Crossing meetings are presented to inform Village of Fox Crossing residents and interested parties about village government. Additional information, meeting agendas, and minutes are available on the village website, www.foxcrossingwi.gov. Fox Crossing residents can express their opinions about village issues by contacting the village president or village trustees. Contact information is on the website. All public portions of the meetings are recorded in entirety and are not edited.